When I say the word mafia, what comes to your mind? Is it dark, mysterious old grandpas who commits casual tax evasions and other deadly crimes, or an illicit money laundering enthusiast who engages in unethical business ventures such as selling non-FDA approved blue rock candies? Yakuza is a series of video games about, if you haven't guessed already, the Yakuza. If you don't know what that is, it is basically the Japanese equivalent of an Italian spaghetti club. In this capitalist dystopia set in the distant future of 1988, you play as first name Kiryu, second name John Yakuza, and third name Kojima. Besides that, you also play as Goro Majima, but Kiryu is an abandoned orphan with deep-rooted father issues, and thus decided to become a lone member of the Yakuza. And Majima is hard to explain. In the game, you have to brutally defeat your enemies and dominate over them until they cry for mercy. That's just how Mafia works. However, unlike other games where you roleplay as hardened criminals, Yakuza doesn't let you commit any crimes. Yeah, that's right, the game's name is literally Japanese Mafia, but the most devious you could do is excessive self-defense and a single case of aggravated assault. Also canonically, Kiryu Kazuma has never killed a man before. So you're playing as a member of an organized criminal group, and yet you don't commit crimes. Then how does this game immerse you as a Yakuza member to live up to its name? 1. The name of the game is actually Like a Dragon. I don't know who decided to translate the game into Yakuza. Because 2. Kiryu leaves the family in Chapter 1. Yeah, so what are we talking about again? Most open world games are not very fun to explore. There are good ones, but mostly they're the bad ones, especially if they're made by that French potato farming company. Halo Infinite with its infinitely repeating terrain. Far Cry with its copy and paste map with practically nothing to do on them. These games are huge, their maps look gorgeous, but ultimately, they serve nothing more than just a gap you have to cross from mission marker to mission marker. My point is that there aren't much to do in these worlds. In Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, sure, Bolivia might look like a gorgeous video game world. I guess it accurately captures the architecture of real-life Bolivia. But that's it. It looks like Bolivia, but it doesn't feel like Bolivia. Because in Ghost Recon Wildlands, the only means of interaction the player has with the surroundings is via death and destruction. Also, the side content in that game ranges from kill this to destroy that. Sure, I'd say I actually think the game was pretty fun. When I was 5, Kabukicho is an entertainment district located in Tokyo, Japan. I have never been there in my life, but yet I know every street and corner of this place. Contrasting to that, Kamurocho is a fictional district set in Tokyo, Japan, where the stories of every single Yakuza game takes place. For an open world game, the map size is abysmal, but it is filled with life. The differences between Kamurocho and Bolivia is the difference between quality and quantity. Kamurocho might be small, but it's got everything. Bowling alley, intense bow hitting, karaoke featuring absolute stellar emotional bangers, Chinese mahjong, pocket circuit racing with an entire storyline attached to it, pool, reducted, cage fighting, darts, roulette, shogi, telephone clubs, and as the title of this video suggests, disco dancing, and much, much more. Side contents populate the world of Kamurocho, and despite being optional, they are a mandatory part of the experience. And I haven't even talked about the optional side missions, so-called sub-stories in Yakuza. And if you don't know, Yakuza sub-stories are some of the best written Shakespearean masterpieces ever known to mankind. Like that one time Kiryu becomes friends with a mushroom dealer, or this other time Majima joins a cult to save someone's daughter, or when Majima decides that Japan does not tax its inhabitants enough and advised that the Japanese government should tax anyone with the last name Sato, and breathing air. And also, just why not raise sales tax by a whopping 50%? Now that's the real reason why the Japanese economy crashed. But why is all of this important? What does disco dancing and collapsing the Japanese economy bring to the table of role-playing as a badass mafia member? You see, in games like GTA 5, you also roleplay as hardened criminals, but Trevor can just commit multiple counts of vehicular manslaughter because the player feels like so. This is okay, because Trevor is an unhinged, clinically approved psychopath. But what about Maiko? Maiko isn't a psychopath. In fact, you could argue that he's a pretty smart man. What I'm trying to say is, Maiko would not drive an airliner directly into the ocean because that is extremely out of character. But I can just do that. These characters are puppets. They do what the player wants them to do. They don't do what they want or would do. How am I supposed to understand Michael's wishes of living a peaceful life with his family when just yesterday he committed at least 34 feral crimes, enough to land him in prison until the heat death of the universe? So, what is Kiryu like as a character? From the appearance, Kiryu looks stoic, tough, a bit confused, but most importantly, he's characterized by his subpar communication skills. This is especially true in Yakuza 0, which is when we see Kiryu at his youngest. Let's just say, a normal person won't do business like this. All the above characteristics are very well reflected in the main story, which is quite dark. I only cried twice. Contrasting to that is all the almost comical mini-games and sub-stories. All of these small moments not only serve to break up pacing from a gameplay perspective, but it also sheds light on the other side of Kiryu. He is playful, energetic, confident, confident enough to get on the dance floor when all he knows is 2 moves, and then proceeds to challenge Michael Jackson to a dance battle. Kiryu helps anyone that needs help, whether it's getting a ring for some stranger because their girlfriend wants it, or delivering pizza to an illegal immigrant. Kiryu is always there. I'd like to believe because all of these kind acts, Kiryu was branded the alias Dragon of Dojima, which, having a nickname with the word dragon in it, means a lot in the Yakuza world. Even worse starting a small-scale county warfare for. To put it in terms that the Gen Zs can understand, it is kinda like an NFT. There can only be one dragon. Some might try to get this title by violating the Geneva Convention, but Kiryu got it through beating up real estate agents. Because this is a school project, I am legally obliged now to comment on what this has to do with media codes and convention. I would like to integrate this more subtly and not break up the pacing like this, but hey, I love my school and I am saying this completely under my own volition. Just bear with me here. Obviously, the media conventions of characters is the most relevant to the current discussion. The sub-stories and minigames have done a mesmerizing job in establishing Majima and Kiryu's character. The media code of acting is doing the heavy lifting for the character development here. Yakuza does a phenomenal job at capturing small facial movements that really deliver the emotions, whether it's joy or disappointment when Kiryu gets booed off the dance floor. Paired with his absolute sensational voice acting, it just really hammers home Kiryu's and Majima's character. Don't believe it? Just listen to it.
That's right.
Of course, Yakuza doesn't just do its character building in the side stories, there's the main story as well. And I haven't talked about the elephant in the room. Well, yes, the side content does help to pace out the gameplay side of things. But what about the main story? So, in the main plot of Yakuza 0, and virtually every other Yakuza game, Kiryu always has an incentive to move through the main story first. In Yakuza 0, it is because he was framed for a murder, and he is also being hunted down by the Yakuza now. But the game doesn't really care. There isn't actually a time limit. Oh, this minor side character that I might or might not be attached to is kidnapped. I better go save him. But not before I read an entire encyclopedia and learn how to play Chinese mahjong. It is kind of like Cyberpunk, where V is constantly reminding you that they are on the verge of death. But yet, their bloodthirsts remain unsatiated, so they go on murder rampages just for the funsies. Is Yakuza different in this regard? No, not really. There is still a fair bit of disconnection between the characters and the player. But that's okay. One is because it's minimized by the story structure of Yakuza, being in chapters. A chapter is its own story arc, and by the end of the arc, you will be rightfully a bit tired from all the serious stuff. And because the arc ended, Kiryu absolutely deserved to engage in some entertainment before he heads to the next arc. 2. Yakuza embraces itself as a goofy game, unlike Cyberpunk, but even as goofy as it is, it still delivers these hard-hitting moments, and it's only able to do that with its incredibly strong characters built through the side content. Ultimately, Kiryu does not kill a man. The bullets are rubber, the knife is rubber, and the explosion is rubber. He will not bend to your malicious intent. He is not your puppet. He is a character with his own morals and ethics, but what he would do is play to his heart's content, to have fun. At this moment, Kiryu's motives, the player's motives, join Yakuza's emotions, and your emotions perfectly align like an eclipse. And that is why when John is at his lowest point, you can really feel it, because you've seen him at his highest. Not when he eventually becomes the fourth chairman of the Todo clan, but when he was with his friends, happy, dancing, so carelessly. And it is only because of these moments of daily life that we really appreciate and want to love exist. We can really feel the stakes when things go down. Alright, now everyone is gone. I will tell you a secret. I have no idea what I'm saying. I haven't even answered my question directly. I guess the real answer was the examples I gave all along the way, and you'll have to interpret it yourself. But if you really don't understand, well, here's my best shot at answering my own question: how side content enhances the Yakuza experience is the wrong question to ask. The real question should be, how does Yakuza enhances the side content experience?